Hey everybody, welcome to comics class. Welcome to the new iteration of comics class. As a matter of fact, my name is Brandon Pallas. I am here to teach you everything I know about the art of drawing comics. This is the first session that is not a live class. I've opted to go toward just producing videos for YouTube. I feel like that would give me more flexibility than having the scheduled class every week. And now that the holidays are over and things are a little bit back to normal, we can get on with it. So I've decided I want to spend just a little bit more time in perspective. It's a complicated subject. I did a lot of talking through it, showing the basics already. But today I'm going to give you guys a demo to hopefully just give a little more detail and show you how you can kind of like work through these perspective problems in real time. So first, we're going to go ahead and get started with a little bit of warm up. Since we're doing perspective today, we're going to do these perspective warm-ups. We're going to start with creating a point, like a vanishing point, and we're just going to draw freehand lines that shoot toward that point. It's good to get used to doing this. This is not so good right here. This one's way off. That's fine. When you're doing perspective, you can use your rulers, you can use your T-squares, you can use whatever, perspective grids or perspective tools, maybe like any software you're using might have, and that's all great. I'm going to be using Clip Studio's perspective rulers today, but it's a great idea to just get used to doing this freehand. Just give you, just more ability overall. Now let's do it without a point. Let's just imagine that there's a point there. I'm gonna go ahead and draw one, and then I'm gonna get rid of it. We'll just imagine there's a point right there. And we're just gonna start shooting all these lines toward that imaginary point. Just try to hold that in mind. This gives you a lot of, when you get good at this, and when you start to get good at perspective in general, you'll be able to kind of feel the perspective of the scene without having to really set it up formally. And that's good for sketching and stuff. It's, if you're doing a full illustration or you're drawing like panels in a comic book or something like that, you probably want to, set up your perspective, use your rulers and everything. But if you're just like sketching out a little scene, like it's real handy to just have this ability to kind of estimate where your vanishing points are and to just kind of wing it. So do a little bit more. I'm going to put a little bit of a curve on these lines. So let's say our point is, our vanishing point is right there. And I'm just going to do like kind of swing these lines toward it. And you can go either way, actually. You can go in toward the point, or you can go out. Just try to make sure those lines are aiming at that point. And that'll do for that. You guys can do as much of this as you want to. I recommend that you do a bunch. You don't have to do it all the time, but now and again, come back to this exercise and just put in some time. Now, again, since we're still doing perspective, let's just do some basic perspective stuff and draw some cubes. The cube is about the most fundamental thing there is. It's what's the word I'm looking for? Not symmetrical, but it's equal. It's equal on all sides, and that turns out to be handy for a lot of reasons that maybe I'll get into later. But excuse me. In any case, it's a good idea to just develop your sense of what like a perfect cube equal on all sides looks like. And I've said this before, you can take any kind of cube you can get your hands on. A standard 6-sided die is real handy. And just put it down and just draw it. Just do life drawing with a little cube and just like really try to develop a sense for what it looks like. Draw hundreds or thousands of them. They only take a couple of seconds. All right. Let's do one more. You know what? I just want to talk a little bit about, when I say cube, as opposed to like a rectangular prism, I guess it's called, um, you know, you can do all your perspective right, but there's a certain amount of it that's estimating. Like this is clearly long this way. This is not a straight cube. I would need to cut it off maybe around there. And that might be perspectively correct. Everything might go to the right vanishing points and stuff. But if I don't estimate correctly, it's going to look wrong. So that's the point of this exercise, is just to really develop the sense of what a cube is. And then, that gives you a standard sort of measurement that you can use against everything else in your image. So maybe we'll talk about some of that. We'll see. I'm just going to kind of wing it with what we go into now. But okay, so that's enough warm up. You guys feel free to do as much of that as you want on your own. What we're going to do today, I'm going to take this image that I found online. Here's a nice perspective image. Nothing too complicated. It's a basic 2-point perspective. It's a little bit of an extreme angle. Let me do some drawing here. This is kind of a sharp angle here. Look at this. This gets pretty sharp here. So we have, I'm not super knowledgeable about photography, but I think this is kind of a narrow lens, maybe not like a fisheye lens, but this is not a long lens. So what it's doing is it's compressing things a little bit, and we get our vanishing points fairly close. They're going to be something like that. And this is like a tall scene. It's not wide. So if this were wider, we would actually start to get the vanishing points like within the scene, which I've said before, can lead to distortion. It might be desirable, like if you want that kind of fisheye effect, or it might not be. But just be aware, that normally when you put your vanishing points for a 2-point perspective, you usually want them outside of the scene, and often like kind of well outside the scene, like this. But yeah, whoops. Oh, I guess I'm drawing right on the picture instead of another layer. Don't want to do that. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to start by just kind of analyzing this a little bit. We can find the horizon line, otherwise known as the eye level, by finding where the receding horizontal lines in the image, like where they go from being angled like this, or like this, to where they go like flat. So I'm going to start going toward the middle here. We can see, obviously, this is a sharp angle. This is a more shallow angle. This one's going down. This one's going up, pretty shallow. So, here, I think that's still up a little bit, but it's getting close. So it's looking like our vanishing point is, or not our vanishing point, but our horizon line is somewhere around like this level. Which makes sense. If we, whoops, still drawing right on the layer. I gotta stop that. Okay, made a new layer. This is like a plaza. It's got these, this is a door. So we can kind of estimate, a person might be about that tall. And then it looks like, there's some stairs here. Whoever's taking the photo is probably standing at the bottom of these stairs, or maybe on this bottom step. So they're a little bit lower. They're standing a little lower than this plaza here. So if they're holding the camera at their eye level, then it makes sense that the actual eye level in the picture would be maybe a couple of feet lower than the eye level of a person standing right there. So we're going to call it right about there. And then, so if we put a horizon line all the way across, whoops, and then we follow these lines, we can find that our left vanishing point is about like that. And now, let's see, let's take these ones here. And this assumes that all of these structures are at right angles to each other, which they probably are, because buildings tend to be like that. But if structures are not at right angles to each other, we have to do something else. And maybe I'll get into that another time. But for now, okay, let's see. That one goes to there. That one, that's a little off. Okay, something like that. So our vanishing points would be somewhere around there and there. And, I said that buildings tend to be at right angles to each other, which is true. But also, it's real life, and it's not perfect. It's not 3D rendered sort of mathematical perfection. Sometimes buildings are a little off and whatnot. So we can't be too fussy about that. But in any case, okay, so we've analyzed this picture. We see that we got a horizon line kind of right through the middle there. And we've got these vanishing points here that are outside of the image, but relatively close. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. And I'm just going to move this over. And like this. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a selection of that just so that I can keep the proportions correct. We're going to duplicate this image on a second picture plane here. Not duplicate exactly, but I'm going to just build up this perspective so you guys can see. So I'm going to start by creating a perspective ruler, creating a 2-point ruler. Have the dialog up right now, but you can't see it because my setup isn't, it's only set to record the canvas. So, okay, so I'm creating the initial 2-point perspective ruler in Clip Studio Paint. I'm going to bring these vanishing points in relatively close, like we saw that they were in the original image. And I'm not going to try to be absolutely perfect here. I'm just going to give you guys some general, just going to do the basics. Not try to make it perfect, but we're going to think through some of these perspective problems here. So let's start. Let's start by just kind of breaking down the major blocks of the image. So as I see it right now, this area here, everything inside here in this alcove or whatever you would call this, is kind of one block. We'll kind of build all that together. And then everything back here is kind of a separate block. We've got this big plaza plane. This is kind of going to be most of our ground plane. Yeah, let's go ahead and get started. All right, I'm going to start, let's see. This actually is a little bit difficult figuring out where to start. I'm going to start with the top of the stairs there. That goes all the way off the edge here. I'm going to draw a line back that way. And, these beautiful Clip Studio perspective rulers are going to keep me kind of on track. So these are going up to this vanishing point up here. And I'm just going to create this whole little, let's see. I'm going to leave those stairs out for now. We're just going to build this like overall structure. So as you can see, we've got this corner here. We got this floor down here. So I'm just going to create that. You can see how this is a little bit kind of distorted looking because that vanishing point is so close. For now, I'm just going to be creating this this floor area over here. And you go back here, create the bottom of that building back there. Looks like not the bottom, the edge there where the wall touches the floor. And it looks like this kind of turns back this way. like a little line up there. Let's see. Okay. I'm just going to estimate. So everything in here, this is everything on this side of these pillars, right? I'm not going to put the pillars in yet. That's going to be a little later. But I will start to create this this wall here. Oops. This one goes this way. Let's see. All right, this vault stuff, these like vaulted arches, that's going to be difficult. We'll deal with that later. We might have to fake that a little bit. Not have to, you know, there's usually ways to do this stuff technically, but it can be a real pain. And often a little more work than is really necessary. We'll see when we get there. Okay, so I'm going to put in the thickness of this wall here, and we're going to leave, let's see, I'm actually going to go, you see these, the heads of these columns here? I'm going to, ooh, is that right? Oh man, I feel like I made, okay, no, whatever, I'm going to stick with it. I made this line, I made this vanishing point too close. Let's see, maybe, yeah, so we're going to be off, but yeah, it's okay. This is really just to show how to think through these perspective problems. So the sort of structure I'm putting in here, that's basically this. If we were to imagine, you know, we've got these straight lines here, these heads of these columns, the capitals, I think they're called, that runs up that way. It's actually not too far off. See, it kind of comes close to the edge here, and here we're a little further from the edge, but not too bad. So I'm going to create that, and then like later on, we're going to actually carve these arcing sections out of it. Okay, so let's see. We kind of got that stuff basically put in place. I'm going to go ahead and just block in a little bit more of these buildings back here. Like the roof is maybe right there. There's this additional structure that I'm not really going to worry about just yet. Yeah, okay. So that we've kind of got the whole thing generally blocked out. I haven't put in these columns yet, and I will. There's this one right here. Terrible color. There's this one right here that that needs to go in here. So let's see. Looks like there's a little bit of wall here. So I'm going to put that in. I'll erase this bit. And that column, let's see. It looks like it's kind of cut in half against the wall. It's not a complete cylinder. It's like a half cylinder that's butted up against the wall. So I'm just going to draw that. And since this is 2-point perspective, it doesn't have any vertical convergence. We don't really have to worry about finding a weird angle for the what's the word I'm looking for? For the ellipse. So I'm just going to put it right there. Oh, I see. It's actually it's a little fatter. So let me show. Go ahead and get a different color here. And I'll show like the proper way. I'm going to estimate, let's see, since this column is like halfway in the wall, I'm gonna just kind of estimate where it would be. And then what we can do is we can do this ellipse, fit it in there. Now I will, whoops, I will take a black pencil again, and then we can drop that down. We can put another, let me go ahead and draw through here so you guys can see what's going on. All right, so I'm going to fit the next ellipse within this square. Doesn't have to be perfect. Let's see. Something like that. Little, yeah, something like that. Okay, and then we could do either another ellipse template here, or maybe we could just freehand it. Dealing with cylindrical objects in perspective can be really tough. Like there's some weird tricks you got to do. A lot of times it's better to just eyeball it and freehand it sometimes, usually, especially if stuff is smaller, it's not a major part of the image. But you got to know your fundamentals to do that well. All right, let's go take another look at the image. All right, we got these stairs coming down. Let's go ahead and deal with that next. There's a few different ways to do stairs. What I'm going to do right here is I'm going to, we can see that this step, let's see, this step here extends a little bit beyond this corner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw out the kind of the ground area of it, like the area it covers on the ground. And then I'm going to take a line. Let's see, actually make that a little longer. And I'm going to make a line from this corner down to that corner. And I'll go ahead and change the color on that so we can see that it's just a guide. And this line is going to kind of tell us where our steps meet. Okay, so we've only got 3 steps. I'm just kind of estimating their location. So put in those lines for the vanishing point. These ones go back. We can draw the line down to where it connects. Okay, those are, let's see, let me do this again. I overshot on some of these. All right, let's start. Okay, well, first of all, one mistake I made. No, it's not a mistake. All right, I'm just going to put that one there. I'm going to put that one there. I'm going to put that one there. And then these lines can go back to their respective vanishing points. We just draw lines down to connect. All right, and yeah, like these are not perfect steps. The proportions aren't perfect, but you can see how this sort of structure works. Let me get rid of some of these extraneous lines. All right, and then there's bricks here. We're not necessarily gonna draw in all of that stuff, but let's put a little bit of that there. There's no way I'm doing all of these other bricks. Okay, so our proportions are a little off. We're not trying to be super accurate here. We're just trying to get the basic idea of how you build this stuff. Now, let's go ahead and put in these columns. So, let's see, get a good color here. So this wall here, we can think of this wall as kind of extending all through there, right? That's where the columns are going to sit. So we've got a line here already. Let's see. This big column here is not in line with these, and I can't see exactly what's going on behind it over there, but I'm going to guess that there's another column just like that. There's 3 columns, and then inside this alcove around the corner a little bit, there's this other big column, which is probably the same size as all the others. It's just closer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to take a different color, a really different color, and I'm going to estimate the center of this little plane, this surface, and I'm going to estimate how far back that goes. All of that. Okay, so this is going to be the area we're working with, that we're going to put these columns in. I'll knock back the opacity on the rest of this a little bit so we can see it more easily. Looks like that is a separate layer. I'm going to need to merge that down. Okay. And I actually don't like that color. I'm going to change that. So I showed you guys before this simple trick of doing the X. Let me see here. Let's get a better line for that. And turn the opacity up a little bit. Okay, so you can do this X, and that finds the center, right? Which is cool because we want to have a column right in the center there. Now, the typical trick is to, then just continue to subdivide by putting lines from one corner to the opposite corner, and where it crosses that center line, that's where we put another, division. But the thing is, that only gives you even numbered divisions. So we could do this, you can get 2, you can get 4, 6, 8, etc. And what we want here is, you know what? I take it back. I was going to go, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys the trick, because this is a cool trick. I kind of figured this out all by myself. When you want uneven, when you want 3, there's slightly different things you got to do for all of the uneven ones, for 3, for 5, for 7. And it might be easier to just do 4 or 6 or 8 and cut one off. But there's a cool trick you can do where we build all this stuff. And then if you put the line from there to there, I'm going to do a different color for that. And from there to there, where it crosses these lines, these big, diagonal lines, that is where you get your thirds. So now, that's how you split it up into thirds. So now there's a useful trick buried way in this video that, I don't know. Say la vie. But anyway, okay, so as we see here, we'll go back and we can see, much like this one here, this is halfway in the wall, okay? Or it's like a half of a cylinder, whereas this is obviously a full cylinder. I assume the other one over here is also a half cylinder like this one. So that means we can kind of deal with this center as we don't have to do any funny stuff. Since the edge right here is the center of that column, this was the center of that column, this is the center of that column. So I'll just go ahead, knock that back, bring that down below. We'll just use that as a guide. And I will, all right, let's just draw this in. I'm going to freehand these these other bits because it's just, you know, this is small and this is the sort of stuff where freehanding it makes sense. Just make sure to keep your minor axis in the right place. All that. Let's see. Got those. This is the top bit there. All right. Here. And then the last one is kind of, let's see, let's follow the line of these capitals. Bring that over here. So this last one, all we really see is the bit of the capital sticking out. Just kind of freehand sketch those in. We could do it the complicated way, but it's a little beyond our scope right now. Okay, so now is the arches. And this is more difficult. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just estimate. We're going to build some like squares in here. As we can see, you know, the arch basically rises straight up from that capital, but it turns. So what we're going to do is we're going to build these square sort of, or squared off segments here. And then we're going to, let's see, maybe we can do, we can put these lines to find the center here. All right, is that right? No, I did that wrong. Let's see. Okay, these lines up here, this actually needs to be way up here. So again, you know, a little bit of distortion introduced, and it gets more and more pronounced the kind of the further away from the center you go. But that's all right. Okay, so we've got this little square section over here, and now we've got this square section over here. I will create this X right there. So now we should have, yeah, those are a little bit off, but kind of close enough. And now what I'm going to do, we can like put a line up from there to show where the center of this column or this arch is going to hit. And then I'll just freehand this arch. And I just know that it needs to, let's start from the close end. I just know that it kind of needs to touch this center up here. And then I also can use where this crosses this crossing line here, this X line, to see where the where that arch should cross. It's like right there. Okay, so that arch can cross right there. Sort of freehand the rest of that. And then do the same thing up here. Okay, we know that the arch has to touch right there. So we'll just kind of draw out this arch. We know that like as it goes up, it wants to kind of start curving down toward the vanishing point. Okay, boom, touches the top right there. We've already got this line that happens to pass through, so I'm just going to use that. And looks good, looks decent. We created some arches. There's also some arches going this way. I'm not even going to try on that right now. But you know, maybe another time we'll come back to perspective and do the real hard stuff. All right, so let's see. Let's bring this back. We got all that stuff. We got these arches kind of put together now. It's getting a little messy. Obviously, this is all just kind of preparatory work. This is sketching. if we were doing this for real, we would be doing a final pass of like inking or final pencils or whatever. Let's see. Yep. Yep. Should be good. Okay. So that's this whole front section done. Now we're going to go back here, figure out all of this stuff. So we'll go in the back there. I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer. We've already put in the roof. This, I got to keep changing colors every time I go back and forth. We've already put in that roof. There's also one going this way. There's a, gonna need to knock back some of this stuff. Get rid of all of these. Where are those red lines? Oh, they're on that layer. Okay. All right. So there's this little like balcony here. We got a bunch of columns here, or not a bunch of columns. Well, yeah, we got columns and we got arches. Same thing down below. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to estimate the height of those the capitals on those columns, and let's see here. I could do the X technique and really measure it out, but this is, to me, this is getting small enough that I would typically just estimate. So just remember that as they get closer, the spacing needs to get a little bit wider. I'm getting caught on these rulers here. Get rid of those. Okay, so that's probably about good enough. Let's see. Over here, there's some kind of little platform, or like I think that's a well. It's right about at the horizon line, so I'll just go ahead and draw that in there. And then there's that door over there. All right, so these are our columns. They got our little capitals on top. And then these arches, we can just kind of, let's do that. Let's see. Actually add one more that way, because the corner is actually hidden behind that column. Let's see. Okay, and then same thing. These columns up top are aligned with the ones below, so now we can just put in our arches. Over here, there's another little structure sticking up, and then there's this this one. Let's see, little window there. Now this one has an interesting feature about it, and I'm going to knock back some of that stuff. Getting a little messy, hard to read. Oops. All right, so this one, it kind of, here's what it does. It goes up, but then about here, it flares out, so that the top of this structure is wider than the bottom. This is a little exaggerated, but that's basically what's happening. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with a basic structure, just a rectangle, a box that goes up. What I'm going to do is right here, I'm going to put a line that this is where the flare is going to start. And then I'm going to go up here. And this is where the flare is going to end. And what we're going to do is actually build a little bit of a lip here, like so that so that it actually does flare out. And put a line there where all those windows will go. And then we can connect this smaller inner structure to the corners of this outer structure here. So now we've got that flare. We can just put in some windows here. And again, this is something that we could measure out if we wanted to, but it's small enough and far enough in the background that that just freehanding it is usually sufficient. And yeah, let's see. Anything else? There's okay, that floor should be a little bit higher up. We've got another little archway there. We got another little window there, but this is all just little details. Okay, so that looks, you know, this picture got a little, like, look, we got a gap here that doesn't exist here. So yeah, it's not a perfect replica, but hopefully just by going through this process, I was able to give you guys some insight in the ways that you would put together these perspective techniques to create a scene. So thank you guys for watching. Hope this helped. Let me know what you want to see coming up. This will probably be the last perspective thing unless I return to it later. So we're probably going to move into had some requests for dynamic poses and foreshortening. That'll probably be next. Soon we're going to get into some design principles stuff, just basic shape design, just ways to make your lines and your shapes look good. And then we got to get into the real storytelling stuff, which I'm really looking forward to, because this is a comics class after all, not just a drawing class, even though it's just been a drawing class so far. So thank you very much, guys. Please like and subscribe if you've enjoyed the video. And let me know in the comments what you want to see going forward. Thanks very much. Take care.